Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the How Much Did It Make series here at the Humble Penny. Today, we've got an incredible guest. This series is aimed at bringing to you everyday careers, whether it's professional careers, traditional careers or non-traditional careers. We've got them all on this series. Today, we've got Callum, who is a commercial finance analyst. Callum, welcome to the Humble Penny.
Thanks very much for having me on. Delighted to be on. It's nice to
Yeah.
finally meet you as well.
Awesome. Now, first of all, I wanted to say thank you for agreeing to come on this because we put out a request on our YouTube channel on the communities tab saying we need more people to come on this series, and you kindly filled the form in. So, thank you for joining us on this series. Do you want to start by giving us a background, Callum, on what you do for a living exactly and for how long?
Okay, so my current title is commercial finance analyst, and I've had a few kind of finance accounting type roles in the past sort of 6 years since I left uni.
Mhm.
It's kind of been primarily financial analysis roles.
Okay.
So what my kind of job just entails is providing analysis primarily to people who are of a non-financial background. So my current role is the sales team for the company I worked for. Previously, it's been general managers for in a heating company or for partners of a law firm. So it's all different kinds of people providing financial analysis to people who aren't really financially savvy.
And how long have you been doing that for?
So I left university in 2016, so about 6 years now. I've been doing that. Initially, my first role after uni was with a heating company as a cost analyst.
Okay.
So that was providing, the costings for all the installs that we did for boilers and repairs and whatnot, and just giving the figures in a presentable format to guys who were previously on the tools that don't
Hmm.
really understand numbers. So the challenge of that was to make it understandable to them, which I really
Yeah.
enjoyed. And then I went into a completely different sector in the legal industry
Okay.
and worked with a lot of senior partners of the law firm who were quite could be challenging, but in a totally different way from the previous place. A lot of kind of say Oxbridge educated, quite high society folk, but
Yeah,
they were
yeah.
lovely to be fair. And yeah, I enjoyed that as well. And now I'm currently working for a brewery.
Brewery. Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, so again, completely different.
Very different.
Providing analysis on how we're selling our beer basically.
Yeah.
Uh,
So when you say analysis, just to help the person who's watching, so I understand what you mean, but I want to make sure that the person on the street who is has no idea what a finance person does, just explain why your company needs you. Like, why is it they don't understand the numbers? Like, why do they need a Callum to tell them what to do or what the numbers mean?
okay, so if I go for example, my current role with the brewery, basically my interactions mainly with the sales guys, and their sort of focus is just to get sales in the door, whereas my role's primarily to kind of rein them in a bit if they want to try and offer big discounts to customers just to get their business when that might not be good for our business in general.
Hmm.
So it's to try and guide these kind of folk, and then same at the law firm whenever they were pitching for a piece of work, I had
Hmm.
to guide them in what they basically were able to pitch for basically, in terms of rates and how that would impact the overall profit of the business. So yeah, it's just trying to guide people who don't maybe have the financial background or financial kind of understanding of profit and things like that, and just kind of try and guide them in how to kind of.
Hmm. So, your role has the two words, it has three very important words: commercial, finance, and analyst in it. So, you must have obviously had some qualifications to get to where you are. So, do you want to just speak to what qualifications you've got and how long it took to get it and that sort of stuff?
Okay, so I did 4 years at the University of Glasgow. I studied accountancy and finance.
Hmm.
So I left with my honours degree there, and then when I started in my first role, I started studying CIMA, which is a Chartered Institute of Management Accountants. So
Right.
that's for anyone that doesn't know, it's like another chartered accountant body, I suppose. There's loads of them, but the one I did specifically was for like management.
It's a very good qualification, the SEMA
Yeah.
qualification. Yeah, yeah.
To be honest, it was the one that appealed to me the most, one I found most exciting, to be honest. So I did my exams for that in my first role. So yeah, lots of exams overall.
Hmm.
But yeah, that's kind of what's got me to where I am today.
Right, cool. So, what does a day in the life of a commercial finance analyst look like? So, you wake up, you log into your computer. What happens between then and like when you log out?
So basically, the first thing I'll normally do is catch up on any emails that's maybe someone sent me, not so much through the night, but later in the previous evening.
Hmm.
Um, and if there's any ad hoc tasks I've got on the go from that, I'll just
Hmm.
park that to the side while I do my sort of standard like morning reporting, which is primarily in my current role, it's primarily forecasting just how we're looking with our volumes, we're going to hit our budgets, what customers are kind of lagging behind, what can we do to sort of, you know, but basically I'd send that to the sales guys to say this customer, X customer's lagging behind. How can we, help them? Well, help the sales basically for that.
Right.
And then it's kind of going through the ad hoc emails throughout the day, but also within that throughout the month, there's all throughout the quarter even there's always like a quarterly financial budgets I need to work on and assess them where are we at, we're going to hit them, do we need to readjust, etc. So
So, what would you say are the top three habits that make you a success at what you do in your job?
I think primarily for my role, I would say communications is the number one thing because you're interacting with a whole range of stakeholders,
Yeah.
and in all of my sort of analyst roles, whether it's my own finance team or sales guys, or like I've seen it, the legal firm lawyers, the business development team, all these different teams. So you need to be a good communicator, and I don't think that's a skill anybody's sort of born with. You sort of build that up
Mm.
over time. And I always felt that, especially in my first role, I really built that up because I would say I had no real experience before. And that for me was like the number one thing.
Mhm.
Probably secondly, I would say is really being committed to what you're doing, really believe in what you're producing.
Okay.
So instead of just kind of going, there's my report, I'll just fire it out, really kind of dive into the data and really trying to understand what it is that you're actually producing and how it's value add and explaining to people
Mhm.
why it's value add and what you're really trying to achieve.
Right.
And then probably lastly, I would just say maybe tied into the previous point, I suppose, is just hard work.
Mm.
Just really putting in the effort. And I think regardless if someone if someone's maybe struggling within the role, if people can see they're trying hard to understand it and
Mhm.
really want to succeed in the role, I think it goes a long way. I've often felt that as well. It's really appreciated by people if they can see I'm
Mhm.
hard at trying to help them out basically.
So, what sort of hours do you work out of interest?
So my contractual hours are 9 till 5.
Mhm.
Most mornings I'm logged on by about 8:30.
Okay.
But I think they're quite flexible to be honest. So it's
Hmm.
if I wanted to log in at 9:30, I could. But I prefer logging in early because I'm
Start
working.
early. Do you
Yeah.
do this from home then, or do you go into an office to do it?
So at the minute, I've been going into the office one day per week.
Got
Um,
it.
just because. Within the business, there's not been that many people going into the office, so I thought they
Okay.
might as well be at home
Right.
rather than in the office. The whole point of being in the office for me is to
Mhm.
interact with all these people, which has been challenging, I think, for everybody over the past sort of 2 years, is
Of course. Yeah.
not getting that interaction, and I think it's hard, especially starting a new role when it's primarily
Yeah. You haven't built a bond with your team and stuff, right?
exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
So I prefer to be in the office. So
Yeah. I hear you on that one. So, what would you say you love about what you do, this particular type of work?
I would say I think I love the fact that I'm working with a whole range of stakeholders, kind of like I previously said, but also being able to provide value to them that they maybe can't do themselves. Like I was saying,
Hmm.
to people that aren't financially savvy, and
Hmm.
I take the financials or take a data dump and
Hmm.
present it in a way that they can sort of understand it, and that really kind of adds value to them and to the business. I feel like just making an impact to these different kinds of people, I really enjoyed that, especially if I can do it across like various sort of stakeholders. That's definitely what kind of drives me.
Got it. And I know that these sort of roles also come with their own, stresses as well. So, what would you say you find most challenging about this particular type of job?
I'd probably give this as advice for anybody to kind of look out for is, and it's maybe a tricky one to say about managers, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think there's some. I've had some good managers and I've had some bad ones, and I think the bad ones can make the job really really difficult, but
Mm-hmm.
good ones can make it really enjoyable.
Mm-hmm.
Me personally, that's been the most challenging thing for me is just in the different roles I've done, having different types of personalities. I've been working with some people you just don't click with for whatever reason.
Yeah.
But could be a mixture of myself and them. But there's other people that I've become really good friends with and still keep in touch with.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely managers are probably the toughest thing I've come across.
Yeah. I can definitely concur with that. I think for me, when I worked in finance, that's definitely one thing I found most challenging is colleagues slash managers, you know, with all the stresses of the job, it can, it can, it just brings unnecessary pressure when you don't have the best relationships as well. So that can be a pretty challenging one. Let's talk money. This is a personal finance channel. People always want to know what other people earn. So, what do you want give us an idea of what you earn in a role in that particular role as a commercial finance analyst?
Okay, so my current salary is 40,000 per annum with a 10% bonus.
Mhm.
And I think that from where I'm based, so I'm based just outside Glasgow,
Glasgow, right?
Glasgow, Lanarkshire. I'm based, and I know that if say my role was in London, it'd probably be about 20k more or something. So for generally speaking, I think it's a pretty decent salary for where I'm located within the UK.
Yeah,
Yeah, definitely kind of gives me a comfortable enough life.
that's it. That's definitely a good salary because I know the cost of living in Glasgow is a lot lower relatively. Um, I've even had people say to me, "You should move to Glasgow."
I don't know about
Uh,
that. No,
yeah, exactly. I'm like, I don't know. I'm not
that's
sure.
the point.
Yeah. Um, and what's the maximum income potential for someone in the role you're in right now? Like, where could this go from an income perspective? What's the most you could earn, do you think?
So in my current role, if I was never to leave the position, I reckon probably up to about 50k. I think depending on the company and
Mm,
the size of workload that you've got.
hmm.
Especially if you become like a sort of senior commercial finance analyst.
Got it.
But I think generally speaking, a lot of people would maybe be in my role for like a few years and then they would move up to either like a finance manager, financial
Hmm.
controller. And that's where just
Okay.
based on this part of the country and sticking to where I'm located, and maybe
Hmm.
talking between 50 and 60k for that kind of position, and then like a finance director, you're probably talking like 75 upwards. Like I think that's the aim for a lot of people is to kind of work up to finance director one day.
No, that sounds great. So imagine someone's watching this, Callum, and they're thinking to themselves, you know what? I wouldn't mind becoming a commercial finance analyst one day. What top three pieces of advice would you give them, given where you are right now?
Okay, so I wrote down a couple of wee notes because I points my head and I kept forgetting them. Yeah. So
Yeah.
first one, I'd say be prepared to do tasks that aren't that fun at times. And that's not doesn't sell the role well, but I just mean
No,
that
but it's good to talk about it. Yeah.
it's not all fun and games. Like yes, there is bits of like the forecasting that I really enjoy in my role, but there's times where the system doesn't work and I'm getting chased in a forecast and I'm having to get in touch with different people in IT and get in touch with all these other teams to try and pull things together.
Get numbers. Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, just to get my numbers. So yeah, I think got to be prepared to take the bad with the good basically.
Hmm.
Um, I would say for my position again, maybe researching a company before you join because
Hmm.
I've had sort of three commercial analyst type roles. They've
Hmm.
all been different industries and kind of different size of companies. I would say really try and research a company before you join them.
Hmm.
Obviously, it's hard to really know for sure without actually being in the business. But
Hmm.
for my kind of role, I think it again it's important with the likes of your manager and how they treat their staff and whatnot. It can be quite stressful if you're in somewhere that don't really treat people that well. What my third bit of advice be? Probably just, be maybe going back to previous one, be committed in what you're doing, and I think you'll be rewarded for it. Like really, if you really enjoy it, like kind of really show that to your manager or people that you're working with, like your stakeholders and whatnot. I think that really kind of take you far in this kind of role.
Cool. So far we've talked about your career journey. I'd love to know, let's talk, this is a personal finance channel. Let's shift gears into personal finance. How would you describe your current relationship with money?
I would say it's quite good in that I'm quite on top of my finances, not always kind of have been.
That's good.
Honest, but on the other side of it, I'm probably a bit too on. I try to be too much on top of it, but I think I get myself a bit anxious over it, and I'm constantly checking my bank account. I'm a wee bit over analytical with it. But generally speaking, I think I've not got any real big debts apart from my mortgage.
Right.
Like I try and make sure I've always got enough money for like the next 3 months if the worst thing possibly happens, I lose my job. Not always try and do that, and that's not easy either. I would say it's taken me a while to build up enough money because I've got my bills, my mortgage, etc. to pay like whilst I'm working, so it's hard to kind of save up. But yeah, I would say I've got a decent enough relationship with money.
Cool. Reason I always like an answer to that is because not everybody who's an accountant or works in finance is necessarily good with their personal finances, because it's easy to forget that word personal, when it comes to managing our own money. Have you got a side hustle, Callum? If so, what is it and how does it make money? Just curious.
So I would say my sort of side hustle for a while there was doing the Just Eat deliveries. Now I don't know if you've seen, in fact, I've seen all of those guys driving about the delivery guys.
Yeah.
And I actually really enjoyed it. So I was doing it at night after my work, or doing it on a Saturday morning, Sunday morning. I've got nothing on, doing it 4 hours on that. It was really enjoyable.
So how does that work? Just tell people. So this is Just Eat deliveries. This is someone who just orders food from like their phone, right? And you bring the food to them. So how do you make money from that? Like, how much do you make and that sort of stuff?
So I think it kind of varies on how busy it is. So for example, how it works is you've got an app on your phone, and I'll sign up to a shift, basically a job. It'll maybe be like 4 hours, and I'll get pinged a job, say for McDonald's, is a delivery from McDonald's is going to X place, and I can basically swipe to accept it. So once I accept it, you drive to the McDonald's, wait on the order, getting called, just comes up on the screen, and then you go and collect it, swipe that you've got it, and then put it in your sat nav to the address, drive to the place, deliver it, and swipe accept, and then the money goes onto your account. At that point, you don't get paid it straight away, but it goes onto your account, and then you get paid.
Credited, right?
Yeah, exactly. So it's really easy work. And I think if you can be bothered doing it, I would recommend it. It's good fun.
So just give people, simple kind of math. So how many hours, how much? Give us an idea.
When I go out, I usually pick like a 4 hour shift. And I think I would aim to probably make about £60. So it would work out about £15 an hour. Now that's excluding your fuel and
fuel. Right, but, so you need to work out. So and these are short drives, obviously. They're just around where you live, right? So,
yeah. So I think I've never driven further than, I think, 7 miles. Restaurant and then to the address. So it's all quite short distance.
So with energy prices being crazy, as at the time of doing this interview, how is that affecting? That's obviously eating into your margins, then, isn't it? Or are you? Is Just Eat charging more to compensate for energy costs or not?
I've noticed, like, since the fuel has basically skyrocketed, they've started paying slightly more, but it's not enough that it outweighs the increase in fuel, to be honest. So I've sort of felt the pinch with that. Now for me, it's just a kind of part-time thing that I do on the side, but there are people that are doing it kind of full-time that are probably feeling it a bit more than me. But yeah, they've increased what they're paying a bit, but not much.
Cool. Just let's go back a few more years, right? You know, just thinking back to your childhood and maybe your teenage years and so on. What do you think you learned about money growing up from your parents? So this could be good or bad. Like, give us a sense for what that looked like.
I actually think I had a really good upbringing in terms of money, and I think I've seen a lot of different situations. So, basically, back when I was really young, about 20 odd years ago, my parents separated, and basically at that point, my mum had to pay for the house herself, and my dad had to go and get his own place. But from that, my mum was always quite careful with her money, quite tight. Now we were never in any trouble growing
Mm,
up financially, but I just remember things being quite tight, and I
mm,
always remember my mum had her notepad where she'd pencil in her budget for the month and what was coming in, what was coming out.
mm,
I think from that, so from seeing her at a young age doing that, I think that really ingrained it in me to do that myself. I've got my own
mm.
Excel spreadsheet that I keep
Wow.
track of things, which was really helpful. And then on the other side, I've got my dad. I would say he was a financial advisor, that did a lot of kind of like mortgages and things like that for people.
Right.
And now just before kind of 2008, he was self-employed and his business was really kind of taking off, and I could see
Right.
it going really well for him. Then not when
Mm.
the financial crash came, and banks were asking for 25%
Of
deposits.
course.
His
Yeah.
business was kind of crumbled basically. So I got to see a bit of everything. I got to see things going well, things going bad, and just things going
Mm.
right. So I think it made me really well rounded, I think, for
Mm.
going forward.
Wow. Okay. That sounds like you like a proper training ground for a large part of what's become your career today, actually. Just thinking about your spending each month. What would you say you currently spend most of your money on, and what do you spend on to treat yourself each month?
So again, probably like most people, highest portion of my spending is on mortgage, energy bills, council tax, internet, all those kind of things, fuel. And by the end of the month, I've probably got. But if I never did anything for myself, I'd have maybe like a, I don't know, 400, £500. But I use a bit of that to treat myself, basically going out. So how I treat myself is I just go out at the weekends with my friends still.
Hmm.
I'm a single guy living my own, so how I kind of relax or like
Yeah.
chill out for the after a long week of work is going out the weekends, maybe to the pub for a few, or just out and about in Glasgow in general, but nothing
Yeah.
extravagant, to be honest. But I do make sure I'm still enjoying myself at the weekends.
Yeah. Like it's funny listening to you. I kind of feel like there's a part of, I guess, socializing that I missed out on. I've never really been that kind of go to a pub and hang out with guys, and I've just never ever done it. So I kind of envy you a little bit because I'm like, wow, this is actually something I never actually got to do. Just go and sit down and watch. I don't know. I guess you watch sports or something, or football, um, or just chat. So that's actually quite good that you've got that going on. And I think that's become even more important in people's lives that need to socialize because of what we've all obviously gone through in the last 2 years. I know for certain in my own life, I value time with other people very highly. Those social environments just give you that opportunity to, I guess, just appreciate other people and appreciate life so much more.
Yeah,
Um, just thinking back, Callum, to your maybe your I don't know how old you are. How old are you? Maybe do you want me asking?
28.
You're 28. So, just think back the last 10 years, right? Can you think of a specific money mistake that you've made so far and what you think you learned from it?
Um, to be honest, like I'm not perfect when I say this. I can't think of any kind of big mistakes I've made with money.
Wow.
I've got regrets,
Wow,
which
okay.
primarily, and this is I do think about this a lot, is that
Let's hear them.
when I was like at university and I had my free time in the summer, I did have a part-time job, but I wish I'd maybe taken up more things like doing deliveries at night where I didn't have anything on anyway, just sort of build up a bit of money at least that I, that I could kind of do more for myself. As I was quite tight because I wasn't working all that much at the part-time job. I was maybe doing about 10 hours a week, and that which was fine. So I was still living at home, but I wish I'd maybe picked up a bit more shifts and I'd been able to, save a bit more money or take a bit less out in student loans at the time, which would have probably been beneficial. But yeah, that's my one regret.
Yeah, it's an interesting one actually. One regret I've got is I wish that back in the early 2000s, 2005, 6, pre that whole crash, and even after the crash, I wish I had the foresight to buy more, to kind of get into property a lot more, because like the last decade has obviously been insane for anyone who had any assets of any value, and I just feel like, yeah, it's just one of those things that the people who took the risks back then, um, provided it kind of looked after their investments, have really, really done very well. So, but we can only think about the future now. The future is the only thing we've got. Today is all we've got, and then then the future ahead. So let's talk about dreams now. So, what would you say is your ultimate financial goal? Like when you think about your life and where you think you're going, and your career's going it's going well, and you're in your late 20s. When you think 20 years from now, when Callum is 48, what on earth is happening? I know that might sound like it's like an eternity away, but trust me, it's gonna come by quicker than you can imagine. Even the next 10 years. I mean, what do you see ahead of you?
Well, for me, I think the goal is to be kind of financially independent, and that I'll hopefully have got my mortgage paid off. I mean, my life could change so much from then. Like I said to you, I'm a single guy, so I've only got a small, it's a mid-terrace 2-bed house, so there's every chance I could buy something bigger after that. But whatever I'm in, by the age of 40, I'd quite like to have my house paid off and potentially have maybe even like a couple rental properties on the go, or just other sort of side hustle type jobs, just that I could basically pay all my expenses. If I've not got a mortgage, that would be the biggest cost to me. And just be able to kind of live my life how I like without being tied down to a job or chained to an office job Monday to Friday. That would be the dream. So yeah, that's definitely something to work on.
12 years, Callum. 12 years from now is, if you're going to be 40. So that's, when you think of it that way, it brings it home, really, doesn't it? Because you're like, wow, like I've got 12 years to make this vision a reality. And for me, I find that quite, I think it's quite exciting, because you're like, wow, okay, this is how long I've got. What's my game plan? How am I going to get there? Do you think you're going to keep living in Glasgow, or do you have plans of living anywhere else?
At the moment, I would say I'm probably a bit of a home bird. So I do quite like Glasgow. I love visiting. Other cities in the UK. I really liked London when I was down there. Liverpool, liked there. But I think just because it feels like home to me. It'll be a few of my family members are abroad now. For me, I quite like just being here. But again, that could all completely change. I think it's, for what's happened in the last sort of few years, I realise that literally anything can happen. So yeah, the plan at the minute though is to stay here.
Got it. Callum, it's been amazing chatting with you. Thank you for sharing everything you shared today about your current role as a commercial finance analyst. I hope it inspires other people who are thinking about careers like this. You've given a lot of value today. If someone wanted to reach out to you, what's the best way for them to connect with you?
I would probably say my Instagram,
Okay.
which is cbrocket94, but I can send you that after this if you want to.
Yeah, we'll put the details up,
Um,
for people to connect with you, as well as
yeah.
share it after once this is published. But other than that, I'll just say to people, guys, if you really enjoyed today's video, would really appreciate it if you hit the subscribe button. That just gives us a signal that you are loving the sort of videos we're putting out here on our channel. If you want to watch other career videos, as part of this series, we've interviewed all kinds of people, whether they be investment bankers, doctors, surgeons, analysts, engineers, even non-traditional careers like gamers and YouTubers and people like that. So we're going to link to some of those interviews below as well as above. You can go and check out and binge on that specific playlist. But other than that, thank you guys so much for watching, and as ever, in all things, be thankful and seek joy. Thanks, Callum.
Thanks very
Cheers,
much.
everybody.
Brilliant.